How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Thorn's Jungle. Take a step in, have a look around, learn some stuff about animals. I hope you enjoyed our Ultimate Animal Quiz episode a couple weeks back. I had such a good time doing that episode, and we're going to be doing another one. Actually, we just did another one, but that won't be posted until next week. Actually, not next week, the week after. And we're going to be doing many more. I can guarantee that. It's bloody fun for me to do. And I was listening back to it when I was editing the last one that's not out yet. And I was like, man, there's no other podcast out there that you learn so much about animals. So it was a good feeling. But today's episode is all about listener topics and questions. So this morning I put out on Instagram that I want people to message me with their animal topics that they would like me to talk about, and also some animal related questions. Not all of them were animal related, of course, but I'm going to go through them. I got a massive response, and I will probably have to break them into 2 episodes because there were so many, and some of the topics were pretty not just short answered questions. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Alright. Actually, is my bank card sticking out the side there for everyone to see? Yes, it is. I'll just put them down there. Alright. The first question. Django the Unchained said, your thoughts on Coco the gorilla? Do you think she could talk or just knew certain words? Complicated question. So Coco the gorilla, for people that don't know, was a gorilla that got taught sign language. And she was pretty good at it. You know, you could get some decent answers out of her, basically converse with her in a certain way. Like, she would tell you what she wants or what things are. But there's a lot of sort of conjecture about, was she actually talking or just word associating? But if you think about it, isn't that what language and talking is? It's just a sound somebody makes that means something. So back in the day, a grunt, you know, you could go, oh, that, when you point at something and make that sound, oh, you're pointing at a berry, so that's the word for that berry. It's associating the meaning of something or an object or something with a sound. So Coco the gorilla knew word association and object association, but instead of saying it vocally, she would do a sign for it, which she was taught. So I have no doubt that Coco the gorilla could do that, associate certain things with hand gestures, which is a very, very, very primitive form of communication. Not saying that it's actually a very complex form of communication. That's why, you know, hearing impaired use it and things like that, because they can basically communicate just as well as we can. But there are a few sort of things that Coco couldn't do. For example, Coco and a lot of other primates that have been taught sign language, they've never actually asked a question, apparently. So they never questioned anything, apparently. I don't know, I could be wrong. I haven't looked into this in a while. So that would mean that, you know, again, we can't look at animal intelligence through the eyes of a human and how we test intelligence, okay? But she did like Robin Williams, I think, because they had similar hair cover. If you look at Robin Williams, he's so hairy. So am I. I feel you, brother. Alright, next one is Mac and Cheesiest. Will there be another season of Kings of Pain? This is a question Rob and I both get probably on a daily basis. Probably not. There probably won't be another season of Kings of Pain. And that's not because we don't want to do another one. It's all up to the networks. And it was a History Channel show, and they wanted to try something new with Kings of Pain. Like, that's why Kings of Pain was on History Channel. It seems to be kind of a fish out of water, because it's not a World War II show. So they did Kings of Pain. It did very well. And then I think they kind of want to go back to their sort of traditional History Channel things. But, you never know. You never know. Have you ever discovered... Okay, this is from Liz Wren. Have you ever discovered an animal that has not been seen before? Not necessarily, but I've come close. And also, maybe. So, when I was in Borneo, my brother was filming me. I was doing a documentary on bear cats. We found a snake. It's the subspecies of Malaysian blue coral snake. It's the Bornean subspecies. And not very many of them have actually been found. And I believe we were the first ones to actually catch that subspecies on camera, like on video camera. I have found species out in the jungle. I found a scorpion when I was in Sumatra once and couldn't find it anywhere in any books or anything like that. And it was pretty deep jungle. It was a very small scorpion. It was under some bark. So, there is a possibility that was a new species of scorpion. And I've got a few other examples like that. And the thing with invertebrates, they are discovering new species of them all the time. It's just, you got to have the patience to sit there and do the work and ID it and classify it, which is easier said than done. Next one, it's me, Darla. I would like to do wildlife things with you. Okay, that's not a question, but thanks, I guess. I'm flattered. Next one, Thomas McKinnon, Komodo dragons. Not a question, but a topic, which I did ask for as well. So what do you want to know? Komodo dragons are cool. They're the largest living lizards on the planet at the moment. Alright, Komodo dragons, they're found only on a select few islands in Indonesia that make up the Komodo Islands. I think the most popular one and the one that's got the biggest population is Rincha Island. Komodo dragons can grow 9 foot plus. And I think the heaviest one ever weighed was it was over 100 kilograms. That was with a full stomach though. And given the fact that they could probably quite easily ingest a small goat in one gulp, that does add a few pounds to its weight. But anyway, they are very large lizards. There is some conjecture about their venom, because they do contain a venom. And they used to say that Komodo dragons' saliva was full of nasty bacteria, which was the actual reason why its prey would die. So pretty much all a Komodo dragon has to do to something like a huge water buffalo is bite it anywhere, and in a few days that buffalo will be dead, and the Komodo dragon just needs to smell it out and track it down and eat it. But now they're looking at the Komodo dragon, and it does contain venom glands like most, if not all, monitor lizards do, which is recently discovered. And I think it's probably the venom rather than the nasty bacteria in that venom. Pretty interesting. Old Komodo dragon, Varanus komodoensis. It's a monitor lizard as well, so it's related to water monitors and Australian, like goannas and things like that. Okay, Courtney. Courtney's awesome. She come on one of our Nature Quest trips. She's a laugh. She's really funny. Mothman! Exclamation mark. So Mothman is a cryptid. So it is a creature similar to Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. Cryptozoology means the study of hidden animals. So yeah, Bigfoots, Nessie, things like that. But Mothman has more of a paranormal aspect to it. It goes back to, where was it, Point Pleasant, um, where sightings of a hominoid creature, so an animal that's built similar to a man, but I don't believe it had arms, but it did have wings. It was covered in a fur and it had like glowing red eyes. So there were sightings of it flying around by a lot of people saw it. Um, and right after those sightings, I think it was the Silver Bridge collapsed, which was a huge bridge, and I think like quite a few people died, I believe. So they think sightings of the Mothman is kind of a like happens before disasters, and there are other examples of similar Mothman. Actually, Mothman's not his last name, is it? Yeah, Mothmen. Another example would be Chernobyl. When the Chernobyl stuff was happening, there was the Chernobyl blackbird, which was like a giant black bird that was like as big as an airplane spotted flying through the smoke. So it could be like, a pre-apocalyptic sort of apparition that people see before a massive cataclysm. Pretty interesting. Next one. Austin Gardner, 87. You and Caveman gonna collab again in the near future? Well, we kind of do collaborate now. Our business, Nature Quest Wildlife Tours, we run a safari company where we take groups of people to Africa and things like that, do really cool stuff. So Rob and I talk every day, and we both do that. So we do collaborate still, and it's collaborate doing the best job ever. Whether or not we'll collaborate again on TV, who knows? I hope so. I really hope so. That'll be awesome. But man, we're having a really good time doing these wildlife tours. Okay, next one. Shaq 973. What made you want to learn more about animals? Don't you ever get scared? Honestly, I can't think of a time in my life where I wasn't obsessed with animals. Like literally, my first memories as a kid, or I don't know, toddler, was being obsessed with animals. So it's just always been one of those things that I was lucky enough to know what I wanted to do. Basically, since the age of birth, I knew I wanted to work with animals. I was obsessed with them. It was the only thing that made me feel, I don't know, just excited every day was to learn about animals. And I used to get in trouble at school because, the teachers would want you to pick out like a fiction book, picture book, something like that, and I'll be sifting through animal encyclopedias, just learning. So it like, I don't necessarily believe in destiny, because I do think our souls and our consciousness and stuff does have free will. So destiny would be like, oh, it was written for you. But with animals, like wildlife, like it's hard for me not to go, yeah, I was destined to do stuff with wildlife, because it was just this thing from birth. And what was the thing? Do I ever get scared? It is so weird. And I was thinking about this the other day. Besides Kings of Pain, where we knew we were going to be hurt and we kind of had to, I guess, play up the whole being intimidated by the animals. Otherwise, because if we were to be excited about being bitten and stung, it wouldn't make great TV. So they definitely wanted us to act more scared of the animals, which in a lot of cases you don't really need to act in that sense, because they are very painful animals. So you are nervous, but in that sense, and I still wouldn't even say scared, it was more like if you knew days beforehand you were going to walk into your garage and slowly press your hand down on a nail, it would be at the back of your mind for a while, right? So it was kind of like that. But when it comes to animals like big animals, lions, elephants, things like that, it is such a weird thing. I never feel more calm than when I'm around a potentially dangerous animal. Like there's been times I've been charged by an elephant, and it was just, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's my heart wouldn't even skip a beat. It's just this at peace while it's happening. Like, not at peace because I think I'm gonna die or anything, but this, I don't know if I can sense that that animal isn't gonna hurt me, or what it is. I don't know. We had chimps running past us and screaming. People were like, "Were you scared?" I was like, no, not even in the slightest. It's just, and I think that rubs off on the animal as well. When you're super calm, they kind of pick up on that, and they tend to be super calm. Humans scare me the most out of all the animals, just because we are so intelligent, and with intelligence comes things like jealousy and being conniving and cunning and sadistic and things like that. But as far as wild animals go, no, not really. Not really that scared. Okay, next one. Rodsell, Rodsil, 10. What do you think about African cryptids? I think a lot. There are a few cryptids, so cryptozoological animals, like we were talking about before, Bigfoot and things like that. There are a few actually in Africa. The first one that comes to mind is the Otang, and I've actually done an entire episode on the Otang. Yeah, I have. I'm pretty sure I have. Which is basically the South Africa's version of Bigfoot. It's found in the Knysna forest, which is a Afro-montane forest in South Africa. And very reputed people have seen it. Like a very well respected conservationist has seen it on a couple occasions. It's basically resembles an Australopithecus, which is, if you think of a chimpanzee that just walks upright, like more confidently. So not a chimp that just walks upright, but walks upright primarily, like a human being, covered in hair. Not like 8 foot tall, like a Sasquatch or anything, but more like a relic hominid that is seen there. And out of all the cryptids, I hold a few in sort of higher regard and in high possibility of existing, and the Otang is one of them. There are also other cryptids. What was it? The Kasai Rex, I think, is another one, which is like a theropod dinosaur, like a T-Rex that is said to inhabit the savannas. Yeah, I don't know about that one. There's also the, what is it? The something bear, Nandi bear, which is it looks kind of like a mixture between a hyena and a bear. That's another cryptid in Africa. But as far as like possibilities of them existing, I think the Otang in South Africa is probably the highest on that list for sure. Great question. JP Horn, 1991, just throwing out there, you're incredible. Oh, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Okay, and we've got this one dude that's asked 4 questions, and they're cool questions as well. He was keen. Okay, have Greek anacondas ever ate a person? Because reticulated pythons did. He obviously means green anacondas. Bloody autocorrect, I tell ya. Have green anacondas ever ate a person? I can almost guarantee they have. Reticulated pythons, which are Asian pythons, and green anacondas are found in South America. We have very well documented cases of reticulated pythons killing and consuming human beings. It's very rare, but it does happen, and it's confirmed. Reticulated pythons get longer on average than green anaconda, but green anaconda are way heavier bodied snakes. They're very, very thick snakes. They're part of the boa family. And I mean, giant reticulated pythons now are rare, but they still do exist. We're talking 20 foot plus. And I have no doubt in my mind that in the past, anacondas have killed and consumed human beings. Without a doubt in my mind, in the history of humans living alongside green anaconda, it's almost impossible that that hasn't happened. If a reticulated python can do it, and these reticulated pythons, a lot of them were about the 6 or 7 meter mark, which is about 20, 23 feet. And anacondas do get that size. It's getting rare now because of hunting and things like that, but they do and can and have gotten that size. So if the thicker bodied anaconda at equal length to a reticulated python can do it, then green anaconda can do it all day long, baby. All right, we got Mills Lod's next question. Hey, this is weird. He's got this two different dudes, two different names, but it's the same profile pictures. He's just trying to get in a sneaky few extra questions. Okay. Jaguar, the apex predator of South America. Okay, so it was weird actually. I was just talking about jaguars. I was on my sister-in-law's sailboat just earlier this morning, and her dad was talking about jaguars. So jaguars, as we know, they are part of the big cat family. They're in the big cat genus Panthera. And they are the largest cat on the Americas. If you look at a jaguar and a leopard, they look very similar because they've both got rosettes on them. But the jaguar is bigger, it's heavier built, it's got more of a boxed head, dog-like head. And the rosettes are different as well. So the rosettes on... I will just clear this up. Rosettes they're not spots. So when say leopards have spots, they don't actually have spots. They're called rosettes because if you actually look at them, they're more like circles, semicircles, and things like that. So the jaguar's rosettes tend to be bigger, more well defined, and they've also got a spot in those rosettes as well. So that's a good way you can tell the difference between the two. They tend to have shorter legs as well. So jaguars are incredible. They're almost... I don't want to say almost scarier than tigers, because tigers take way more people than jaguars, but the scare factor comes from just how stealthy jaguars are. It is insane. And I'll tell you a story about a jaguar. While we were filming Kings of Pain in Bolivia, we were doing our segment, Rob and I, and the crew was following us, and we kind of walked into the jungle and then did a loop while we were sort of, doing our segment to camera, came back to where all our gear and stuff was, and right behind us, as we'd been walking, were jaguar paw prints, jaguar pug marks, right behind us that weren't there before. So it was kind of like following us or just going in the same direction as us. We don't know. But it was pretty cool. Jaguars are incredibly strong, like stupidly strong. They jump into the river and grab caiman that are like the same size as them or even bigger, and just with that powerful neck just like drag it out of the river. And they're mainly solitary animals as well, so they're just like loners that just slink around and stalk the jungle like a ghost. They're really, really cool, jaguars. Okay, his next question. Would you consider giant anteaters to be dangerous? They can be. Most animals can potentially be dangerous. Your pet dog can be dangerous. But the thing with giant anteaters they are huge, right? So they can be like 7 feet long, and they have like full talons on their hands, right? Like full talons, massive long claws. because they like dig open termite mounds, and termite mounds can be like as hard as cement. So those claws are super long, they're super strong, they just like bash into these termite mounds to get to the termites. And a way they defend themselves is they will stand on their hind legs and hold up their claws and swipe. They will absolutely swipe at a potential assailant with those claws. And I will tell you this, there has been 2 known deaths associated with giant anteaters, both in Brazil. They found a dude that had died with weird slash marks all over his body, and they knew it was from an animal, but they didn't know which one. And then later they determined it was from a giant anteater. I think it hit his femoral artery in his leg, and he bled out and died. So an animal that big, being 7 foot long, if it's standing on its hind legs, it's going to be, 4 foot plus tall. So it can get a good slash on you, that's for sure. So can giant anteaters be dangerous? Yeah, they absolutely can. Next question. The bush dog, a least known canid. Yeah, he's got that right. So the bush dog is it's found in South America, just like the jaguar and green anaconda. It is a canid, and it's a very strange looking canid. Like it's pretty small. It's sort of got a long torso and stubby legs. And to be honest, it kind of looks almost like a Wolverine or something. It's just a very strange looking dog, but they're super elusive. Like, you'd have to be pretty damn privileged to ever see one. They're not closely, they are canids, so they're somewhat related. They're in the same family as like dogs and wolves and things like that. But their closest living relatives, I believe, is the maned wolf, which is also found in South America, and it's a trippy looking bloody animal, I tell you that. It's like, think of a fox on stilts. That's what the maned wolf looks like. And I think it's also somewhat related, more closely related to than dogs rather, and wolves, the African painted dog, or the African wild dog. I think that's another one of their close living relatives. But they're a trippy dog, and they're super efficient hunters. And I think there was a documented case of a bush dog taking down a 250 kilo tapir, or a pack of them it would be, taking down a 250 kilo tapir, which is insane, because these things are, they're not the biggest of animals. They're pretty small, but their ferociousness and attitude and willingness, yeah, I'll go with that. What are you talking about, willingness? To work together, can achieve incredible things. So I think that's all the questions that I really wanted. But I've got enough here to do like another episode, which I will absolutely, because I love answering your questions. This is the first time I've seen the questions, so which I like. I like the spontaneity of it. I hate polishing stuff and learning about stuff before I answer the questions, because it's like I'm supposed to be a wildlife guy. I'm supposed to know this stuff. Yeah, I don't know everything, but anybody could read about an animal and then talk about it. You need to really understand what you're talking about to be able to explain it correctly and efficiently. So I do like the off-the-cuff stuff. See this shirt? For everyone watching on YouTube, see that shirt? I don't know if you can see that properly. I'll just lift myself up. That's for sale on my website, biothorn.com.au. You can pick yourself up a Thorns Jungle t-shirt. If you're listening on whatever podcast app, please, you have no idea how much it actually helps when you rate a podcast. Like, it makes it more visible to everyone else on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. So it really helps a lot. If you're watching from YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. I will have a Patreon up and running shortly. This podcast will always be free. There will always be a weekly episode for free for you to watch or listen to. But if you want extra content, and behind the scenes stuff, more uncensored stuff, that doesn't mean I'm getting naked on camera. Although, hey, it depends what tier you subscribe to. So I will have that up and running. I'll have a lot of free stuff on there beforehand, and if you like it, you can subscribe to it, and it'll be something like $5 a month or something very, very small. If you don't like it, then you don't have to subscribe. But I will give you a taste test of what you would be paying for on the Patreon. I think that's it, everyone. And also, if you don't subscribe, this mask, I'm holding up a Ugandan tribal mask. For people that can't see, if you don't subscribe, like, or rate, you'll be cursed. A jungle curse. I'm not going to say that's not a threat, because it absolutely is. If you don't like, subscribe, and do all that stuff, then you will be, you'll have a jungle curse upon you. I'll see you next time on another episode of Thorns Jungle.